What's up, y'all? This is Corey from the OverLook, and we go over the books you may have overlooked. Where do I start? Jen and I have been watching Season 3 of Titans, and it's so dope. Bro, this show gets better every season. If you want to check out our thoughts on the season, or any of the previous seasons, you can check the link in the description to our second channel, where we have all of our TV and movie discussions and reviews. Anyway, let's talk about the Red Hood. The beginning of this third season deals with the death and resurrection of Jason Todd. In order to gain perspective on the character, let's cover the story, Batman, a death in the family, otherwise known as the death of Jason Todd. It took Batman 3 weeks to track down the kiddie porn ring's main warehouse. The bust was all set to go. He and Robin were in hiding, waiting for their police backup. Suddenly, Robin runs out of patience. That's the way it goes sometimes, with the best laid plans of mice and men. Batman should have known something like this would happen. Robin, Jason Todd, has been acting oddly of late. Very moody, resentful, reckless. That attitude is about to get him killed. Batman jumps into the fight. He brings his entire 210 pounds on them. Hard. There will be some serious hospital time in their immediate futures. No traction for these guys. Just a need for extensive dental work. However, Batman loses his taste for the whole affair by the time he reaches the last pornographer. So, he tosses him to Robin and lets the boy finish him off. Robin, obviously, has a dangerously high level of aggressive energy to work off. Batman tries to keep his temper in check. He reminds himself, Jason's just a kid. What the devil was that all about? He asks, shaking his partner. Didn't I tell you to hold up? Yeah, I heard you, Robin responds. But we had the goods on these lowlifes. I didn't see any reason to wait. They were only 8 of them. Don't you understand? There are even procedures we have to follow. I promised to let Gordon in on the bust. You jumped the gun. What's worse, you nearly got yourself killed doing it. What do you think we're doing here? Playing some game? When Batman gets home to Wayne Manor, a couple hours later, he finds Robin's not yet returned. In a way, he's relieved. It gives him a chance to talk with his oldest friend. Bruce sits down in his study and confides to Alfred. He explains Jason is losing it. He just dived into a group of thugs, like someone looking to die. Even Alfred has noticed some disquieting things about Master Jason himself. Bruce has tried to approach Jason, but the lad avoids talking about his parents lately. Bruce has walked in on him several times, looking at the battered old photograph of his mother and father, crying. When Jason notices him, He immediately hides the picture and leaves the room, refusing to speak. It's becoming clear that Bruce may have started Jason as Robin before he had a chance to come to grips with his parents' death. Bruce decides he must rectify this situation and chooses to remove Jason from active duty immediately. Jason overhears the two speaking and wonders aloud if he gets to have a say about any of this. Bruce and Alfred can't be serious. I most definitely am. Bruce stands to his feet. You're in no shape emotionally to be on the streets. I haven't made this decision capriciously, Jason. A person's got to have his head screwed on right for this line of work. You're hurting, kid. You've got a lot of anger and pain inside of you. It's going to take time for you to get rid of it. Let me help you work this out. We can start by talking about your parents. Once again, the boy throws Bruce's hand off his shoulders, turns on his heels, and stomps out the door. His last words to Bruce are, "You want to talk? Talk to Alfred." Joker escapes. Again, citywide manhunt begins. For years, Jim Gordon has tried to talk Arkham Asylum into tightening up its security. It's adequate for your run-of-the-mill psychopathic killer. But for someone like the Joker, well, apparently the Joker was able to gain access to the janitor's storage roof. It never occurred to anyone that he might be able to mix up a version of that lethal laughing gas of his, using only common cleaning agents. He then simply walked out the front door, leaving 8 dead men in his wake. The killing never stops with him. Detective Gordon has put out an APB on the Joker and has alerted the Justice League and the Titans, which is good. Everyone's gonna want a piece of the Joker after what he did to Barbara. Jim doubts he'll remain on the loose very long this time. Not with every law enforcement agency in the country making him their #1 priority. Elsewhere, within a warehouse, the Joker is packing his bags. His lackey, Rupert, asks the madman why they came to the warehouse out of all places. They ought to be heading for the state line. The Joker is just too hot to be sticking around Gotham. Hell, Rupert isn't too sure if the Joker is safe anywhere in the country. The Joker is well aware of that fact. He happens to be crazy, not stupid. The Joker knows when it's time to take a vacation. Unfortunately, this will have to be a working vacation. The authorities have been busy seizing most of his hidden assets during his latest stay at the beautiful Arkham Asylum. All for what he did to Gordon's daughter. Well, that was awfully petty of them, wasn't it? The Joker asks. The woman only got what she was obviously asking for. Fortunately, the government wasn't able to unearth all the Joker's buried treasures. In the warehouse is something he was saving to break up the boredom on some future rainy afternoon. His very own cruise missile. Rupert asks the Joker how in blazes he came by a cruise missile. Through a friend, of course. A friend of his in the military who owed him a big favor. Originally, the Joker planned to fire the weapon at City Hall. Unfortunately, now he'll just have to sell it to some terrorists instead. It's the only way he can think of to safely replenish his severely depleted funds. On paper, the cruise missile doesn't exist. No one even knows it's missing. It's another favor his military friend did for him before his untimely demise. The Joker thinks aloud that this may have all worked out for the best. The time has come for the Joker to make a few changes in his life. Crime hasn't been all that good to him of late. He's been spending more time in Arkham Asylum than out. The Joker has been seriously thinking about getting into a new line of work. Some endeavor where his special talent will be properly appreciated. Something like international politics. And the cruise missile will bring in just enough money for the Joker to buy himself into the game. Elsewhere, Jason Todd is in his third hour of walking, trying to let off some steam. His subconscious guides until he ends up somewhere in his former neighborhood, Crime Alley. He even finds himself over by his old homestead, the apartment building he once shared with his now dead parents. The memories hit hard. The boy has got a lot of sorrow to work out of his system. His mother's name was Catherine Todd, a good woman who probably loved her son deeply, only wanted the best for him. Willis Todd, his father, probably loved Jason also. Maybe that's why he drifted into crime, hoping to give his son a better life. The poor fool realized too late that those kinds of shortcuts never pan out. Catherine Todd's life was cut short by a disease that just didn't care how much love she had in her heart. Jason's dad fell victim to the vicious gangster he was working for, Two-Face. That left Jason, as an orphan, living in an abandoned building when Batman found him. Bruce thought he had Jason's best interests at heart when he rushed him into training to be the new Robin. But, you know what they say, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. As Jason passes the old apartment, a woman sticks her head out of the window. A friend of his mother's, Mrs. Walker. Mrs. Walker explains that after everything that happened, Jason kind of disappeared. She can't blame him for that, but when no one claimed his family's possessions, the landlord sold them off. Mrs. Walker was able to save a few items for Jason just in case he ever came back. Jason examines the contents of the box to find old photographs of his family and some personal papers along with it. Jason cheers at the sight of his new treasure, lifts the box full of items and carries them out of the door. There is a man named Jasper Taylor. He is a known associate of the Joker's. The address Batman has on file for him is a transient's hotel on the Lower East Side, and it looks like Batman arrived just in time. At the sight of him, Jasper turns on a dime and aims his weapon. Batman almost forgot what fast reflexes Jasper has. He must be letting his worries about Jason get in the way of his performance on the job. You can't afford to get sloppy in this line of work. You might end up dead. That realization causes Batman to overcompensate. He takes Jasper down too hard. He'll be out for hours. Batman came in search of information. He won't be getting any from Jasper. But maybe Jasper's luggage will give Batman a clue. He examines the contents and finds a passport and a visa for Lebanon. Strange. Batman spends the next few hours trying to track down more of the Joker's former henchmen. No luck. They all seem to have disappeared. All vacationing in Lebanon, perhaps. When Bruce phones home at nightfall, he learns that Jason has finally returned. Alfred informs Bruce that Jason went directly to his room, requesting he not be disturbed. Photographs are a bridge to the past. Black and white reminders of the way things used to be. Links to those who are no longer with us. Priceless treasures. The boy also examines some of his parents' personal papers. A deed for an acre of land in Virginia. A lapsed insurance policy. Some of the papers are his own. Old grade school report cards. His birth certificate, which contains a gut-wrenching surprise. There's his own name on it. Jason Peter Todd. Just as it should be. There's his father's name. All correct and proper. The trouble lies with his mother's name. Jason's mother's name was Catherine, not S something. The last names water damaged, smeared, unreadable. Questions race through the young boy's head. It takes some time, but he accepts the truth. As impossible as it seems, he finally grasps the realization that Catherine Todd wasn't his real mother. But then, who was? How is he going to find out the truth? His mother and father are dead. He can't ask them. Stepmother. A bitter realization to the boy. His real mother is someone he's never met. Someone who may still be alive. There has to be a way to find out. The boy was taught by Batman on how to be a detective, and he'll use that skill well. Jason finds his father's old address book and picks out all the women whose first names start with an S. There's 3 of them. It takes Jason all night scouring the computer in the Batcave, but he finally finds all 3 women. Of course, with his luck, they're all currently out of the country. All in the Middle East and Africa, of all places. There's Charmin Rosen, who immigrated to Israel in 1982 and currently works for the Israeli Secret Service. There's Shiva Woosen, a lady with a shadowy past, suspected of being a mercenary, operating out of Lebanon at the moment. And there's Dr. Sheila Haywood, working famine relief efforts in Ethiopia. So, what does the boy do now? Take what he has to Bruce? Ask for help? No. He already knows what Bruce would say anyway. That he's in no shape to be running off on this type of investigation. Besides, Bruce wouldn't care about finding Jason's real mother. All he gets off on is catching crooks. He probably couldn't even understand why Jason would even want to locate his mother in the first place. This job's all his. He can't depend on anyone for help. Truthfully, Jason feels kind of shabby running off like this. Bruce and Alfred have been really kind to him, but he really doesn't have much of a choice in the matter, does he? As Jason uses Bruce's credit cards to secure himself a red-eye flight across the globe, the Joker has hijacked a military cargo plane heading directly for Western Asia. It's very roomy. More than enough room to store the cruise missile the Joker has been harboring. And the US Navy shouldn't realize it's missing for hours. By then, the Joker and Rupert will be settled and doing business in Lebanon. The Joker takes a moment to pat himself on the back. As a nice change of pace, his plan is working out quite delightfully. Meanwhile, Batman stumbles upon the Joker's warehouse hideout just before dawn. No one's home, and it looks like the Joker left in a hurry. He left an interesting mess as well. Sophisticated tools and a Geiger counter. Tire tracks on the floor. A heavy-duty truck from the looks of it. Batman recognizes the tread design as a type only the military uses. He then flips on the Geiger counter, knowing what he'll find. Every fiber of his is hoping he's wrong. He's not. The room's background radiation count is still within a safe range, but much higher than it should be. It all comes together. A nuclear device in the hands of that madman. The mind boggles at the possible uses he'd put it to. But why Lebanon? Batman jumps into the Batmobile and makes a call to the Justice League. He might as well take advantage of being part of an internationally recognized organization. His contacts over there as Bruce Wayne, millionaire, will also come in handy. Batman then returns to the Batcave to find Alfred awaiting his arrival. Alfred, worried, holds up a note he found in young Jason's room a short while ago. It's a farewell note stating that Jason has run away. Now, Batman has to make a choice. Does he stay in Gotham to live up to his responsibilities as the boy's guardian? Or does he go after that madman and his nuclear weapon? It's painfully obvious which path he must choose. The question is, how will he ever be able to live with his decision?